Hey guys, I want to talk today about the 3 parts of you to know yourself, to really know yourself here. There are 3 parts, a holy trinity, if you will, to really know yourself, because it really is 3 in 1 at the same time. And a lot of this is about this butterfly or dragonfly, spiritual bypassing. A lot of this is about not spiritual bypassing, spiritual balancing. It's through understanding these few perspectives to really know who you are and to be able to embody your authentic self without any fear or limitations keeping you from being and doing who you are, who you really want to be in this world. So there is the human part, the part of you, who you are in this universe, and then who you are eternally. 3 in 1. So we'll start with the most temporary of these, which is, of course, the human experience, the shortest. And it is important to learn how to love ourselves as humans, to get clear on what this body needs to feel taken care of. Proper exercise, eating the right amount, eating the right things, any other acts of self-care that feel good, that your body's like, oh yes, thank you for doing this, I feel wonderful now. Things that uplift you, things that bring you peace, things that feel balancing to you. That might be reading a book, it might be drinking some tea, it might be going for a massage, it might be just hanging out with friends more or family more. And that's what we have to do on the human level, and learn to love ourselves, to fully accept who we are, accept this is the body that we have chosen for this life. Yes, we have chosen this. That's part of the higher understanding as well. We have chosen this. And that it's we even chose our family and our circumstances in certain situations, like what we were born into, our genetics, all that stuff that we were born into. Even though it feels like we're a victim to those things, that's not the truth. And that's when we get into the soul understanding. That's who we are in the universe. Now, I really would recommend, if you haven't yet, learning about the Law of One, because the Law of One explains the evolution. It's a channeled work from the 1980s, and it explains the evolution of consciousness in this particular universe. And this is going to give you a universal perspective of who you are and why we're here in this density of consciousness and what we're here to learn. And sort of like the bigger picture of what's going on our planet. And I really recommend Aaron Abke. I think he is the best teacher of the Law of One, at least that I've found. And I'll link an interview with him that he did with Andre Ducham's channel, the Know Thyself podcast. I'll link that in the description below so that you can watch that, because it is wonderful. So knowing yourself as a soul, realizing we are a soul who has evolved from the beginning of this universe and will continue evolving until the end of this universe. And then we'll merge back with our eternal self, which is Source. All right. So we are one consciousness, one beingness. That's our eternal nature, experiencing a universal or an experience within a universe made of vibration and light. And basically, we start out at the lowest density of consciousness, first density, which is just beingness, which basically is being the elements, fire, air, earth, water, space. And after billions of years of that, we evolve into the second density, which is higher life forms, plants, animals, that at least that we observe in our on our planet. And then eventually we evolve to self-awareness. And I think there probably are some species of animals here that have some self-awareness that might be considered third density. We are an animal species that evolved here on this planet that has self-awareness. And so we are experiencing the third density of consciousness right here. So we are individual sparks of the whole, fractals of the whole, of the one consciousness, the one self, experiencing itself to know itself. Because the creator cannot know itself without experiencing what it is not. And so we have contrast here, positive and negative. The creator is love and light, and we are that, but we live with contrast of positive and negative. And the negative, us forgetting who we are when we come here, creates the negative polarity, which creates fear, which comes from the idea that we're separate, when in truth we are one. And so this is important wisdom to learn, that you are an immortal soul in this universe. So that helps us a lot with being the human self, right? Because being human comes with these fears, right? These, through second density, there's a lot of fear because there's the perception of another. And so that creates the idea of, well, what if they're a threat? And that's fear. And then third density, you have self-awareness, and you're like, whoa, like I am a separate self, and maybe I do need to be afraid of these threats, and, stuff like that. And so suddenly now we have fear. We have this other polarity to experience and learn from, to learn what we're not in our eternal sense, and to then learn what we are in our eternal sense. So basically, we start out as source. This is our eternal nature. Source, which is pure love, divine intelligence, formless, intelligent design that creates. There's only one thing, one eternal, infinite thing in existence, and it is creating and is everything and everyone. Every experience that has ever happened and ever will happen in eternity is created and lived by the one eternal, infinite source. And we are that. From the source is consciousness. Consciousness is what we are as souls, and then as individual incarnations of life anywhere in the universe. So we are we are source, and then we are consciousness, and then we are the incarnation. And so right now we are living the human incarnation of the eternal soul that is consciousness, that is source. So we have the eternal nature, the universal soul nature, and the human nature. And here's the thing. When people start learning a lot of esotericism and higher wisdom, they get to this point where it's like, whoa, nothing's really real. I don't really exist. There's not a separate self here. And so they hide behind this wisdom and they reject the human experience. But what is God doing right now? What is Source doing? It's imagining what it's like to be a human on a planet called Earth, Mother Gaia. And why would we reject that? We're here. We chose to be here. And so a higher wisdom than realizing we're nothing is realizing that we are simultaneously nothing and something. That we are separate and not separate. That our true nature is oneness, and unconditional love is the foundation of everything, because of course Source loves itself unconditionally in its infinite wisdom. Why wouldn't it? Why would it ever not love itself? It's all that exists. It's all that's really real. But just because that's the eternal realness, it doesn't mean that the temporary experiences don't matter or that they're not real. So the human experience, even the lower human experience, is important. The emotions that we feel as humans is important. They teach us compassion. They help teach us wisdom of the heart, compassion, humility, understanding, forgiveness. And as we learn this wisdom and embody it through being loving to ourselves and everyone and everything else, because we know that at the heart of it, we're all one, but learning to be separate and one at the same time, to embody wisdom and love at the same time, that is what gives you spiritual evolution. So that instead of rejecting the human experience, saying, I don't really want to be here, it kind of sucks, my life has been really hard, I've suffered a lot. Instead, realize that everything you've gone through has been bringing you to higher understandings so that you can know yourself better and better and better, so that you can be freer, more free. The foundation of the way that this universe is designed is that free will is always honored. This is called the law of one, or the law of do no harm, or the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. And wouldn't we all just like to be free and happy? Allow people to do that too. And so I have to, the balance of love and wisdom is me honoring and loving myself and my free will, and respecting everyone else's in the same way. To realize that free will really is our power. And the more you evolve spiritually, the more of your free will you have access to. The freer you feel, the more liberated internally you feel, the more that is reflected in your life, in your circumstances, and the more that the life you want is drawn to you. Because as you evolve spiritually, you become more magnetic. In third density as a human, we are here to, and this is outlined in the Law of One, the raw material channeled text. We are here to make the choice. Are we going to go down the negative polarity, which is service to self? Or are we going to choose the positive polarity, service to others? The service to self is really quite it's authentic to some beings. In the Law of One, they state that maybe like 8 to 10%, something like that, of beings anywhere naturally polarize that way in this universe, and the other like 90% polarize positively towards truth, which is oneness. Service to self, the negative polarity, is more like, I realize I'm the creator of my reality, but now I'm going to use that power to manipulate because I believe that I am God and everyone else is just a projection of my consciousness, of my power, and that I can do whatever I want. And I don't have to honor others' free will. And in fact, I can manipulate people and get what I want, especially with people who don't know who they are and aren't in their power. And they gain spiritual power by taking free will away from others, by tricking them, basically, deceiving them. And that's what our world is doing. All the propaganda, all the fear-based control and all that stuff, it's all about trying to take our free will, making us believe in all these different fears and worries and concerns, and thinking the world is just going to hell and everything's bad, and you need to be afraid. You need to be afraid of your neighbor and all this stuff, you don't know who's going to try and kidnap you or do this or that. And, it creates so much fear. And then all of these creator beings, not knowing they're creators, give away their free will to this because they're afraid, because they're scared, because they don't know themselves yet. And that's why this information is so important to understand and to start to really realize this is what's going on here. And if you want to claim your power, your free will, you have to start consciously choosing that, because your conscious will is what protects you from the negative polarity. Consciously, you can choose to protect yourself. Like right now, I can just say, I do not consent to negative beings, negative interference, negative astral planes of any sort affecting me. And just by making that statement out loud, I've protected myself from that. Now, the only things that are going to happen are going to be in alignment with what I'm asking for, what I'm choosing. Your choice matters. Are you going to believe the fear? Are you going to go into a selfish state of being? A negatively polarized selfish state of being where only I matter and no one else does? Or are you going to realize that we're all one at the heart of everything and that we can polarize positively? We can polarize towards unconditional love. Unconditional love is a balance of love for ourselves and our free will and a love of others and their free will. And so polarizing positively, making that choice. And the beautiful thing is we live in a very merciful, wonderful universe where to polarize positively and evolve from third density consciousness, which is all about learning the lessons of self-awareness and to make the choice, into fourth density consciousness, which is all about love and understanding, about opening the heart chakra, opening your heart to all that is, loving yourself, loving all that is, realizing you're in loving cooperation, loving relationship with everything. That is what boosts your power on the positive spectrum. The more open-hearted, the more loving you become towards yourself and to others. That is how you evolve on the positive polarity. And it is liberating. It is freeing. It is a wonderful choice to make. And so like I said, it's a beautiful universe. You technically, to graduate from third density to fourth density, and a lot of people, at least half this world, is ready for that. Because we are a positively polarized planet now. Congratulations. Only 51% of you has to be service to others. So if you love your family and take care of them, if you put other people's needs before your wants, if you are willing to serve and give, if you're willing to love yourself in very kind and gentle and compassionate ways, you are positively polarized. You may not be 100%, but you're on that side of the spectrum. And so congratulations again, because you're living closer to fourth density consciousness. Now, if you want to actually get to fourth density consciousness in this life, you have to polarize 95% or more positively, which is a process that just a lot of people are going through in the spiritual awakening community. That's what the awakenings are really about, is waking up to this reality and realizing that we can love and work together rather than be afraid and think that everything's competition when in fact everything is cooperation. That's where we will thrive, is through cooperation, not competition. And so the more you polarize positively, the more spiritual power you gain, the more you can attract wonderful opportunities and people into your life. And then life becomes more fun. You embody this freedom, this liberation, this sovereignty, this trust in yourself, in the universe, in love. And that brings you all you could ever want, a fulfilling life, and realizing that the fulfilling life comes from the feeling of being free. Because when we were children, that's when we felt free, right? We were just loving, and we didn't, we were just ourselves, and we played around and we had fun until the world told us that it's not like that. That there's all these things you need to worry about, all these things you need to be afraid of. Oh, you're really probably not good enough for the things you want in your dreams. You better just get a safe job and, find a comfortable situation and just stick it out, because if you're alone, you're fucked. It's like no, we need to wake up to the true reality of what's going on here. And that is the exciting time about why we're here now, what we're doing here now. The earth has shifted in frequency to a higher frequency, and now our consciousness goes with it, our awareness goes with it. And as our awareness goes up, so too does our ability to understand what's really going on here and to gain spiritual intelligence and evolution through love, or through the negative polarity if that's what resonates with you. Congratulations on that too, I guess. Because it's all about authenticity. Being your authentic self, not being afraid to be your authentic self. So, that's what's going on the universal level. That's how to know yourself as the immortal soul living here. You are, remember, your eternal source, and then an immortal soul in this universe having a human experience. And all of them are worthy of love and understanding and adoration and joy and gratitude. Because when you finally recognize that everything's okay, you can finally breathe again. You can just breathe and you can just be yourself, and you can focus on, how do I have fun? How do I take care of this body? How do I enjoy my life? How do I make the most of this experience? Because I'm here for a reason. I chose to be here. And the beauty of going from third density to fourth density is that you start going into fourth density, you get to start choosing your incarnations. You break free from the wheel of karma, because in third density and the lower densities, karma just basically, if a life ends and you don't know who you are, you're just spit out into another life that is beneficial. Because as in the interview with Aaron, the example he gives is like, does an insect need to choose their next incarnation? No, they need 1,000 more insect lives to evolve to the next level of consciousness, you know? And eventually we get to human or another third density being, and or creature or species or whatever, and we continue evolving, and we continue evolving until we've chosen a polarity. And the beautiful thing is to actually choose the negative polarity, you have to be 95% negatively polarized, which was like, I think the Law of One says like Genghis Khan was one of the few beings who have actually polarized and evolved to negative polarity from Earth. Otherwise, you keep going in cycles, incarnation cycles, until you get to 51% or more service to others in a particular incarnation. Then you get to start choosing your incarnations, your lifetimes. And then recognize that there are humans here who are fourth density, fifth density, sixth density, here to help raise the frequency, here to help people wake up, because we are at this shifting point known as the harvest, where we get to have this understanding and make the choice for ourselves. And authentically, anyone who's 51% or more, they have chosen the positive polarity, and anyone below that will either be spit into another karmic life after this one, or if they're really negative, they'll graduate to fourth density negative. So that's what's going on a universal level. And so it doesn't really make sense to like go into like really deep esoteric understandings of source. Like, I mean, it's helpful, it's good to know that stuff, it's fun, but it's important to understand that we're having this experience right now, and we're having an experience that takes billions of years of evolution of consciousness. There's no rush, and you really will get to experience pretty much anything you could ever want to experience the more you evolve. Because even though this has been a third density and now evolving into a fourth density planet, there are other planets and reality systems within this universe that are higher densities, and really cool things do exist there. Really cool realities where you get to experience some pretty great stuff, or so I've heard. So, know yourself. There are 3 parts of knowing yourself. Your human nature, which is beautiful and wonderful. Your soul's nature, which is beautiful and wonderful. And your eternal nature, which is perfect, forever and always. Much love and light.